Achieve victory.
Once he teaches you.
That's really as hard as you get, I think. Like mentally or whatever.
Well, you only made like 5 levels, right?
Yeah.
Something like that.
There are some ones that get pretty tight as far as
Maneuvering.
Yeah. That's not easy. Same principle though.
Right.
You just gotta think of how many will be on you after you convert.
So the other guys never did anything else with this game, right?
No.
It's probably just as well.
So.
Uh-oh. Oh no!
The bugs, the bugs. So you're actually in circle right now. Oh no, you're not.
Mm.
I think you can beat it though.
Because of the bugs.
Nice.
Sweet.
Oh no!
Oh
reset.
no! Okay, yeah. It was like, I don't think so.
Yeah.
All right, so let me think about this.
Yeah, like not fully reset. So, is that only one person going to be here? We get started since it's almost 3:10. What's your name?
Aaron.
Aaron, I'm Dave. Nice to meet you. What experience with game program do you have? Or not much? Or?
Not specifically with games. I use rituals for work.
Okay, so you use software development?
I'm network engineer, but
okay.
dabble in software and art.
Nice. Any languages that you used? Or?
Python, Penguin.
Nice.
A little bit of all.
I'm a fan of Python. It's a lot of fun. So, okay, yeah, should we get started? I'll introduce myself, I guess. David, I work with Team Tripleslash. We're a local game studio. And our game is Magnetic by Nature. I don't know if anybody's heard of that. Yeah, and I'm a game programmer / tools / whatever programming needs done guy.
So my name's Paige. I'm also with Team Tripleslash, also a programmer. I guess Dave's probably going to be doing most of this presentation, but here to help out and answer any questions that come up. So.
Yeah, and what's your name?
Jenna.
Jenna. Is your dad right? He was here before?
Yeah.
He was telling me you were at the one yesterday with Josh.
Yeah.
What did they talk about?
About like what colleges to go to, like, to kind of, like the characters and the storyline and, planning and stuff.
Yeah. So you're interested in game design? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. That's awesome. What kind of, are you interested in the art or the story or programming?
Probably the story or programming.
Nice. That's way cool. So today I'm just going to go through kind of like the Unity 3D workflow and show you how like dead simple it is to get the game up and running. It's really cool. Unity makes it super easy and accessible, especially because they have free versions of their software. Have you downloaded Unity at all?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I messed around with it, but I haven't done much with it.
Okay. So do you know kind of the basic like scenes and that kind of? Okay, yeah, perfect. So we can start from the ground up. So I'll just kind of go through like the layout of the program. Once you download it and install it, you basically come to a. Why don't you drive for me?
Yeah.
Kind of just open a new scene, so we get the
Like
look
brand
of what it
new
is.
one?
Yeah. So this is what it looks like when you first open the program, create a new project or whatever. Over on the left side, you have the hierarchy. It's basically what is in your scene. And a scene is, think of it as a level, kind of, one level. And you can load different scenes, and there are different levels in your game. And you can throw, objects into the scene by dragging them into here.
Is there a good example?
Yeah, they
object?
go into prefabs. So down here in my project folder, I've got some prefabs I've already made for a game. The game is kind of a shape game, puzzle game. Some of the shapes are these circle type things, or stars, other shapes I can put in the game. And you can drag these around, move them around, place them how you want in the game.
Apparently, I don't know how to drag them.
I think you have to go into the other mode for your cursor on the top left. The far right, or far left one. Maybe not, I don't know.
Okay.
You can tell we're very advanced and technical here.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. And the one thing that your scene does come with is a camera, and that's what you'll be seeing. Basically, the eyes of the monitor. And you can go over here, and when you this is camera right here. If you select camera, that's good. Yeah, main camera. Over here on the right side, it opens up what's called the inspector.
So we can see everything.
Yeah. And this is kind of just, it's a lot of words, but basically this is what makes up the camera, and it has all the settings you might want to change. I won't go through all of the settings, but mostly you'd be worried about like the size, which is the zoom, and really the default out-of-the-box camera will do everything you need without any fiddling. So you can see once he's selected the camera, he's got a camera preview right here, and that's kind of what it will look like when it's actually running the game.
So I think.
Yeah, there you go. You can move the camera, and you could resize the camera, I guess. Could you?
I'm sure you can, but.
Yeah, you might just change the size in the, on the right side.
With the viewport?
Just do size.
Oh, okay.
No, here.
Oh, I see. I see. Sorry.
That's fine. Yeah, so we doubled the size and it made it twice as big.
You can also, up here at the top, this is like the normal editing mode where it says scene. You can click on game and it will give you like a live preview of what it would be displaying if the game were running.
Yep. And so once you've kind of like thrown things into your scene, you want to start playing your game, there's just a big play button up top, and that will automatically shift you to the game scene, and it'll actually start running the game. So hit play. Right now it's just going to be these things sitting here, not very exciting, but the game is running, doing stuff. So, and then
you can pause it and then make certain changes and see how the game would respond in real time.
Yeah, but the cool thing about Unity is any change you make over here to the objects you have selected updates in real time. So like, say you've got a player and he's moving so fast, and you've got a variable over here that controls that maximum speed or whatever, you can increase that and mess around with it without having to restart the game or anything. It's really good for making quick changes. Okay, so let's go into, yeah, do you guys want to see some code, or, yeah?
Sure.
Okay.
Do you want me to go to one of their, do you have to use a certain language when coding in Unity? Or?
Yeah, so there's two languages available. JavaScript is one, and C# is the other. JavaScript, I mean, syntax is the same as Python.
Yeah.
There's just a few tweaks you have to do.
Yeah.
So it's not too much different than Python. Fundamentally, you do have curly brackets instead of tabs and stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
My impression from the online community is that most people use C#.
I would definitely recommend learning C# with Unity. Just a lot more powerful, a lot more flexible, and just better.
It seems like also better supported. Like there's technically a third language, I think it's called Boo, that like absolutely nobody uses. So it's kind of like you have this hierarchy where there's like Boo and it's there, but nobody uses it. And then there's JavaScript, which some people use. But it seems like most of the large projects are in C#. So if you run into a particular issue, like, oh, I'm trying to load this and it isn't loading, the examples that you'll find online are usually in C#. So
yeah, and you'll find example codes on the Unity website, just like how to use this certain function or whatever. It's a great resource. Let's open level 1 scene actually.
Okay.
Yeah. So I built this game at a game jam a few months ago. It was like a 24-hour make a game-a-thon.
Yeah.
And so it's really hacky and doesn't work a lot of times, but what we did is just each one of our levels we put into a scene here. If you like scroll out or whatever, you can see the whole level. So on the left you see everything that's contained in this level. The top item is Audio Manager, and that's just handling playing sound effects, whatever. Then there's a few other things. Background that's just has a sprite, just this background sprite. You don't see it here for some reason, but then it's got a border, which actually, if you can barely see this green outline,
Right.
that's actually a collider, so it won't let things pass through it.
Zoom in so I can zoom out.
Yeah, there we go. So that acts just as an actual wall in the actual physics of the game.
Is this strictly 2D?
Yes.
Okay, all right. I was trying to like turn it. And it
Yeah,
turned.
yeah. This Unity is a 3D game engine, but they recently released 2D support as well, and this is using 2D. So there's no depth to anything. The one thing I did want to look at code-wise was the circle slot. So if you double-click it and like zoom in to where.
Okay. There we are.
Actually, maybe let's play the game real quick.
Sure, so they
we
can see what it does.
see what the game is. Might help.
Okay, so I'm this little glowing circle here, and the way the game works is that whatever shapes you come near, they will change shape depending upon some simple rules. But in this case, the purple triangle in the middle will become a circle, and I'm supposed to guide it over into the slot. And then I could proceed to the next level.
Yeah. But you won't.
No.
That's fine. So, yeah, I guess we could ask the question, how do we make that circle slot behave the way it is behaving? So, when you're designing a game, you got to break it down to each, what we could call an entity or just a game object. So one of those objects is this type of slot. And I've described how it should behave over here. So I've created a new game object. I've given it a sprite, which is just a 2D image, which is this. So yeah, that's how it should look. But I've also given it a behavior script. That's just going to be some code that describes, how it should behave, when the game's being run. Okay, so he's opened up the script. Every Unity script has like 3 or 4 maybe functions that are basically shared. Like one's called start. That happens when the object comes to life, when the game starts running. There's another one called awake, which you can disable objects, re-enable them every time it is enabled again. The awake would be called. And then there's two update functions, which happen like every...
periodically.
Yeah. So like, if your frame rate is 60 frames per second, it would happen 60 times per second. The update happens every frame of your game. And then there's another function, fixed update, which happens at a fixed interval. And that's for physics and stuff. So in here I've got a huge wall of code, but it's all in the fixed update function. And basically, I do a for loop, just go through all the different game objects that are a shape type, and I just do some logic to see whether or not the shape should be tracking towards it or not. And you can see there's some if statements, like if the distance is less than 0.05, which is like really close, and the thing isn't locked on to the slot, the shape isn't locked on, then I'll lock it and I'll basically snap them onto each other. And then there's another check to see if it should start moving towards it. So if it's less than, if the distance between the shape, go back to the, so basically if there's a circle over here and it's within some radius, then I say, okay, I can tell this circle to target this one and start moving towards it until it overlaps. So, yeah.
So maybe it might be helpful if we go through some of the basic like building blocks that Unity uses. Like one thing that I know some people have an issue with if they haven't encountered it before is that the way the Unity engine works, it's called an entity component system, which means that all of these objects that Dave was talking about, they're modeled as entities or game objects, which there's very little to them. Basically, you provide a name and some very basic information. But everything that makes it interesting, like what it looks like or that script that shows how the behavior works, is a component, which means that it's like a self-contained, how would you say, like it's a, I don't want to say a subunit because you can, let me start over. Okay, so like this side on the right here, what it's doing in this inspector is it's inspecting the game objects, and then each of these little panels is a separate component. So like he has the slot behavior script that we were just looking at, but that script could also be used by other game objects. And then there's a sprite renderer that tells it how to render this particular image onto the game. So it's kind of like each game object is sort of like a bag, and if you want a particular piece of behavior, you put it into that bag. If you want a particular image, you put that into the bag. And Unity manages how to, it manages those bags for you, so that, for example, like, and this may have been clear, but just in case, like the fixed update function, that will be called automatically every time Unity's internal ticker has reached the point where it says, okay, it's time to do fixed update. The other thing I wanted to mention real fast is that because in its origin it's a 3D system, Unity thinks of everything as being objects in space. Like even if you're making like an abstract puzzle game, it still has like this built-in concept of spatial relationships. So there's like a unit distance that it doesn't correspond in anything to the real world. So like a distance of 1 in Unity isn't necessarily like a meter or a foot. It's kind of whatever you want it to be. But there is this built-in knowledge of how far apart things are from one another, where they're located in game space. And so that's how he's able to check, like, oh, are you within 0.5? So that's asking, are you within half a unit from the little circle slot? Yeah, sorry.
That's a good explanation. as far as, what else you need to get a game running, yeah, you just need a camera and you need some sprites and just start throwing them in the game. And do you guys have any topics you want to discuss in particular about how to get a game running, or do you want to prototype a type of game right now? We can do that live, or what do you guys want to do as far as questions you have? Or I got a lot of stuff I can talk about code-wise, different type of coding constructs that are used very often in games. That'd be useful. Anything?
What do you do for prototyping? If you have an idea and you just want to get a basic concept of,
Yeah.
let's just go through this idea and see how it plays out and go from there.
Yeah, so that's one thing Unity is really good at. So what I'll do is open up a new scene, create a new game object, and for example, I had an idea this morning, and what was it? Oh yeah, so here's a game mechanic that I thought of this morning. It was what if the more I move, the bigger I get, or something like that. And we could code that up right now.
So is this the player that I'm working on at the moment? The thing that's moving and growing?
Yeah. Moving and growing again.
Okay.
So yeah, add a sprite renderer. I think we've got some sprites that can fill in the project right now. And just searching assets.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe
Hexagon, since we don't use that in the other game.
Oh, this one right here?
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, so that's our player. Sweet. Now we need something to detect whether I'm moving or not, and actually move myself and grow based on that. So we'll add a a new script. Call it move and grow. Yeah.
Because I can't think of any other titles. Okay, so here this has to do a little bit with what you're saying. You can select which language you want to use.
Yeah, so he's adding a new script, and then he's going to go in and edit that script. Okay, here's a basic empty script. It's got the start and update. Those are the fairly common ones that are used. In here, we'll want to do some code and update, since this is something we should be checking. There's a couple things we need to do. Movement is one, and that should be handled in fixed update.
Fixed update, that's what
yeah.
okay.
So write a new function called fixed update.
Okay, so
I just do
should I just query the input manager?
Input, yeah. So Unity has what's called input.
Does it?
What's it called? Something like that. I don't think there's any input
That one
in
doesn't
there.
move. Okay, that's weird. Yeah, I swore it was just called input manager, but.
That's the one I wrote, but
Oh, that's why I'm used to using
Yeah.
her stuff. Okay.
it's definitely input though. Not key down and stuff.
Okay. Well, let me just try that. It might be that I'm just key down.
Yeah. Key code.
Like this.
Key, one word. Do you not have autocomplete or something?
I do, but it doesn't seem to be working.
Yeah, you're using Unity Engine.
Mm-hmm.
That's strange. Keycode dot S or something. So in Unity, there's two types of input getting. There's like key down and just key. The difference is key will tell you if it's being pressed down at any time. So like if I hold it down, it'll keep returning true the whole time I'm holding it down. If I use key down, it'll only trigger once the first time I press it down. Even if I hold it, it won't continue saying it's being pressed down. So we should use, actually it's get key, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, that sounds right to me.
So yeah, let's use get key, and if I'm pushing the S key down, we want to move him down.
Downwards. So
we should apply, yeah. So we're going to need a rigid body.
Oh, that's right. Okay. So in order to interact with the space and to tell it where to move, we need a different component. This is one. So there's a lot of components that you can build yourself, but there's also a lot that pretty much every game is going to use that Unity provides for you without you doing anything. So one of these is the rigid body, which is basically like a hook into Unity's physics system. In this case, would I want to use the rigid body 2D?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, let's make a 2D game. Yeah, that all looks good.
Probably don't need to change any of those.
Yeah. Yeah, you did rigid body in 2D.
Like that?
Yeah. Down to add force. And yeah, it's got to be a vector 2. So
okay.
We're making a 2D game, so everything's in vector 2s basically, which is basically an x and a y value together. So it's got a horizontal and a vertical component. So we can send a new vector 2 with some 0 x value. So there's no force horizontally, but we want positive y.
Positive y? I was about to ask you that.
I'm pretty sure it's positive.
Okay, let's see if this works.
It's not compiled, I'm sure. Maybe it didn't. Well, so...
Well, it compiled, but it is not working.
We might have to actually get our camera in the right spot here.
Okay. Yep, that's a problem there. So maybe I'll start actually just by moving this to where the camera is.
Yeah. Okay, so now our little player guy's in the middle. Oh, it's backwards. Okay. Well, he moved. So negative y is down. Sweet.
Okay, cool. So
let's fill out maybe the other 3 real quick. So we're going to use W, A, S, and D for our movement. The W, we want to move up. Yeah.
do we want to have a button to make it do...
There's a typo key code in your relatives.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Do we want what?
Do we want to have like a dead stop?
Yeah. Spacebar maybe. We'll force him to stop. So rigid bodies in Unity have a clear forces method, pretty sure. Yeah, that will basically stop it from moving.
Is it spelled that way? Probably.
don't know.
We'll find out. Okay.
Looks like you're looking it up.
Nope. Okay, so actually this is a good time for me to point something else out. So in the same way that we have a couple of different modes up here to look at the game and the scene, down here we have a couple of different things. This is the Project Explorer, which is what you'd usually be using, but this is a console where it will give you textual feedback. Like for right now, it's telling me that I have coded something incorrectly, and so it can't compile. And when you hit play, it's both going to compile your code and process any other like non-code assets like sound and images that may need processing, and then it will automatically start the game. So all of that happens every time you hit that button.
So what we should do is just set the velocity to 0, actually.
Okay, this
Lowercase v,
lowercase v?
yeah. Vector 2.0, yeah. I believe that's capital Z. No, it's not.
I'm pretty sure it's lowercase.
Yeah, it's lowercase.
Okay. let's see
Okay,
if it
so
works
now
this
we
time.
should be able to move our guy left, right, up, and down. It's a little slow, but we got it working. Oh,
Cool.
spacebar worked too.
Actually, maybe I'll throw in here for a second too, because another good thing to demonstrate. So if I make a public variable,
Yeah, what he's doing is he made a public variable in this class called speed, and something specific to Unity. Since it's public, he can go back in here, click on his object he's been creating, and that speed variable shows up in the GUI right here. And it's totally editable. You can change it on the, and it does it real time and everything. So while he's running the game, he could up that so we can, get a little more speed if we want to. And that's really nice for tweaking, exactly the speeds you want.
okay, now I've brought him. He's way far away now. Okay, yeah. So let me see if I can.
Yeah, you can see it's not a perfect movement system, but it's like 5 lines of code, so
It helps
it's a
if
good
I put
start.
a correct value in there.
15. Yeah, ideally we put a kind of a collider border around here. Actually, we could do that right now. I've already got a prefab for it, so
Okay, let's do that.
just drag it in to the scene.
This one?
Yeah, I think that's just a sprite.
Oh.
Maybe not. No, it is. Yeah, you're good.
Okay.
So can you find a lot of prefabs out there that you can just use to run a regular game?
No, not usually. What you do find, a lot of people have made assets, which do come with prefabs, I guess. Yeah. Like I know a lot of assets we've used are like menu systems. They'll come with prefabs for like special cameras. Or, yeah, so I guess you do find a lot of prefabs out there. Yeah, that's true. And Unity's asset store is a good place to find some of those. I know there's at least a few free things that are useful. Okay, boom,
There we
perfect. Nice.
Okay, now we can see the edges.
Yeah, now we should actually just, oh,
Nope.
no, that's true. I'm guessing a layer issue, maybe?
Yeah, that could be.
What's the layer on the border? Both
No,
default?
they're all default. Maybe I don't have collisions
Oh, you don't have a
enabled.
collider.
Oh, that's it. Okay.
So, yeah, you'll need a collider on our actual player to actually interact with the other collider on the border.
So I just did that really fast. Maybe I'll do it a little slower so you can see exactly what I did. So I say add component, then I typed in collider, and then it listed all these different kinds of colliders that it has. So in the same way that the rigid body is a hook into the physics system, the collider component tells the physics system that this is like a solid object that shouldn't pass through other solid objects. So for simplicity for right now, I'll just make it a box. Oh, you know what? I need to do that when the game is not running.
Oh, yeah. I hate that.
Yeah. Okay, so this looks perfect, actually. I shouldn't have to change anything.
But also, you can do a polygon collider 2D, and it'll automatically shape it, I think.
Do you want me to do that?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's get rid of the old one first.
So if you got a funky shaped object like this.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, it actually goes in and not perfect.
But you can
Actually.
see it drew these green lines, and that's its way of telling you what the physics system thinks the shape of this sprite is.
Yeah. And I believe you can go in and reshape that manually. I'm not sure how, but it's good enough for these purposes. It should, oh, you know, your camera stuff.
Oh, that's right, because I added that when I was playing too.
The far right one, I believe, yeah.
Okay.
I just don't think the camera's big enough. Oh, border, yeah. Scale is all. How big's the camera? Oh,
There we go.
perfect,
Okay.
yeah. All right, now equalize.
Ah,
yeah.
hooray! Okay, so maybe we can make it
Go-
to
grow,
grow
yeah,
bigger as
so-
you move.
And this is where some creativity would come in, but like say he's moving to the left, he gets bigger, right, he gets smaller, and up and down he doesn't change. So we can, what we want to do is every game object in Unity, like when you create a new game object, empty, it has what's called the transform, and that controls its like world position, like Paige was saying, it controls its rotation and its scale. So what we want to do to make our thing bigger is change the scale of the entire game object.
So, is this something I should do in update?
Yeah, like in these same if statements, I would do it.
So, rather than like setting some variable that says we're growing, instead I should just grow it right here.
Yeah, just for simplicity's sake.
Okay.
And you could base how fast it grows off a lot of things. You could just say whatever speed I'm going, that's how fast the scale is growing. Or you could, you know, times it by some like sine function, and it kind of like grows bigger, a little bigger.
T. There we go.
Okay, so
Do you think that'll work?
yeah.
Let's see if that works. It's wrong. Can that be applied to? Oh yeah, I guess not. Huh? 'Cause these are both vectors.
So, well, it's because it's vector 3, right?
Oh, velocity is vector 3.
Yeah.
Is there a velocity 2D?
So rigid body 2D.
Oh, right.
You got another thing that's a vector 3 in there.
The local scale, probably. And that has to be 3D.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we can create a new vector 3 out of that. So yeah, the velocity of the object is only in x and y, but the scale, since it's Unity 3D gaming engine, it's still 3 dimensions. So you gotta force it to behave well.
Do you know how to build a vector 3 out of a vector 2? For some reason,
There's no built-in function for it,
There's not.
so I just do dot x dot y
And then
and
0.
0.
Simple enough.
I think I have x's in both places.
I still can't do that. All right, let's try this differently. I'm advertising my mathematics ignorance to the world. Well, it's running. It's not growing.
Okay, so
Well, of course that might be. Let's try this. Perhaps the
so your speed is 1, so it's not actually going to grow.
I thought my speed was 5. Okay, yeah, that would be a good reason for it not to grow.
It was 5?
It might not be. Yeah, the speed is 5, so it should be growing.
Let me see the code again.
Sure.
So this local scale equals whatever the scale is times the speed. Yeah, but it's only when you're hitting the S key. So that's going down.
But I was holding it down the whole time.
S? You would
Oh, S. I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay.
It's getting big, really quick.
Yeah. Okay.
So I have to a little too fast.
All or nothing with me. That's what we get.
So yeah, you divide that by maybe 1,000 or something.
Well, it's going to make it get smaller. Here, I'll just make up a value for right now.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Math is hard. You want to just barely go 1. I think this is still going to be really
probably too
fast.
big, yeah. But this like shows you exactly how prototyping works, though, and why one of the reasons that Unity is so cool. Because like clearly I don't really know what I'm doing in terms of I'm just messing around with this mechanic. I haven't thought it through. I haven't planned it out. But just in a couple of minutes, we've been able to throw together something and immediately learn like, oh, okay, that was too fast.
Yeah.
This is too slow.
Yeah, so what we can do is make that the value public and change it in real time until we find a good one.
Right.
So call it like, grow speed or something. Yeah, an extra F in there. Oops. Yeah, something weird you probably don't really recognize from Python. We're putting Fs at the end of our number.
Yeah.
That just means it's a floating point. Yeah, it's a C# thing.
Okay, growth rate is 0 right now, so let's try 1.01. There we go.
Yeah, that's pretty good. It's a nice smooth grow. So you can imagine making puzzles based off of that, like you can only move down so much in the level before you get too big to fit through something or something like that. The way you go about like designing levels is you go in and make like a wall prefab, and you can place those, and it would just be some wall picture, sprite, and then a collider. And you've got a wall, and you can move them around in this scene view. So,
maybe I'll mention the Unity company has a series of YouTube videos that are, most of them really good tutorials about all the different parts of their system, because we've actually only scratched the surface. Like, it's a fairly complex development environment, and some of the systems are pretty involved. Like, there's this whole built-in animation system. In fact, there's 2 of them now, right? One for 3D models and one for 2D sprites.
Yeah.
So if you go to unity3d.com under, I think it is like learning or documentation, you can get access to that stuff. There's also a bunch of kind of like third-party tutorials that people put together, and there's a very large and vocal development community. So both on Stack Overflow and on, they have their own, I forget the name of it, but there's a Unity-specific site where people ask and answer questions. But we've got about 10 more minutes if you guys have any questions, something we go into more detail on. Or
Yeah.
I could just throw out some of the gotchas that we've run into working on our game, whatever you guys are interested in.
Sure, what are some of the gotchas?
So the one that is at the top of my mind, because it gave us much pain, is that the physics system expects, remember how I was talking about how there's like this unit of distance in Unity? The physics system works best if none of the objects are ever smaller than 1. So if you have like a bunch of spheres, their radius should be 1 or larger. And for certain kinds of games, this will never be an issue. But if you have things that are moving at high speed and their radius is much smaller than that, then the physics system will not detect all collisions. So like when we had our hexagon moving downward, if it were moving fast enough, it would move so quickly that the physics system didn't have a chance to notice that it was colliding. It would already be on the other side of the wall before it stopped to make the check, hey, did you hit anything? So that's one thing we ran into. Is that's the kind of thing where it's easier to set that earlier on in your development. Like if you say, okay, well, everything's going to be scaled to our player being 3 units tall. Then all your artists can draw artwork that matches that, rather than having developed a bunch of mechanics and then realize after the fact that you need to change all the art, which is kind of what happened to us. Trying to think, what else did we run into?
So one thing we developed early on was a level editor. And we actually did that right in Unity. So you can actually build tools in Unity. You can even load it up if you want to.
Sure.
Kind of show you what our back end looks like for level design. Well, I personally think we should have spent more time polishing up the level editor, put some more effort into it, because it probably wasted a lot of level designers' time dealing with all the bugs and issues with it.
Oh, I see what's going on here.
But for bigger games, you actually do need like full-time people dedicated to tools. Like I didn't really think of that before I got into game dev, but it's very true that tools is a big part of it.
So I am switching versions because our game was developed in an earlier version of Unity, and
Yeah, they're not compatible.
yeah, I mean you can move upward, like that's not a super difficult process, but it's much easier just to stick with what's already working.
Okay. Yeah, this probably won't work. Maybe it will.
We'll see.
Yeah, I don't think
Maybe it
opening
won't.
from the editor works.
Oh, okay.
Just
So I need
open
to
it.
start from the. Yeah, I guess to my mind, there's kind of 2 different ways that you can go with Unity. Either you can just use Unity as your level editor, and I think that works better if you're doing a 3D first-person shootery kind of game, because that's what it was initially developed to support. Or you can build your own, which is what we did. And I agree with Dave, like I think we either should have gone strictly with Unity, or since we had gone to using our own editor, which I'll show you in a second right here, we should have put in more time into that. So it's a little slightly off camera here, but so this is the editor that we built for our game. You can zoom out, zoom in, pan around the areas. Got one of the interesting things to me from a coding perspective about this game is that the graphics are not tile-based, but the geometry is. So like.
So each one of these little things on the left here is a prefab that we've made, just a different sort of terrain piece. And we've built up this little GUI so you can select it and kind of draw them in how you want. So you can make your own terrain.
But you can see that there's like a limitation because we're doing it in a tile-based system. Like I can't drag this down so that it meets the floor there because they're stuck to that grid. So we've got our terrain, and then we've got different kinds of magnets because our game is all magnet-oriented. And then this is physics, but it really quickly became just everything that we didn't know what other category to put it in. So most of our game entities are in here. And then we've got a lot of different graphical elements. I was going to say something else. It went right out of my head. Was there something else you had wanted to mention the editor?
Yeah, well, not about the editor, but yeah, like if you're just getting into game development, like I highly suggest Unity, way to go. Definitely a great tool. You can prototype that simple thing we did in an afternoon, get a small game running, or even build a huge game like this. Not huge, but medium size. But they're also like really big games.
Much more sophisticated than ours, yeah.
Oh, it's really scalable, really easy to use, but also really powerful. So definitely download it, start using it. Are there any other questions for us? Okay.
So you said that you how much experience do you have? Have you done any programming yet?
Scratch stuff. Kids programming sites. I can't remember what it was called.
Yeah, thanks, yeah.
It was JavaScript.
Okay.
And you did commands basically in an PG style thing, and tried to fight your way out of it using JavaScript.
Oh, that's very cool.
Let's see, I have it right here. Code Combat.
I never heard of
Learn
that.
how to code by playing the game. So Code Combat, it's kind of a JavaScript thing that you code. Yes. You